All right, everyone, welcome to the second official Blitz community meetup. So awesome to see you all. So we just released Blitz 0.31.0 yesterday. It's not too many changes, except the main change is reduces your app bundle size by 12%. So it basically, it's not any better than what Next.js does. It just fixes what we weren't doing very good. So now it kind of optimizes your bundles more. Um, And I am now working on the Next.js fork that we talked about in the RFC. So I'm kind of testing different things, trying to find the best way to do that. But it looks like we should be able to make a really nice developer experience for contributing to Blitz. So it'd be all in our same monorepo using some really cool Git tricks. And so you won't even really know it's a fork, sort of like it should be pretty slick. So I got stickers samples in this week. So I had to adjust some more, order some more samples that will come in next week, and then probably I should be able to make the official order. And then Kelsey Petrick here has offered to volunteer to be the one to send out stickers to everyone. So probably within a few weeks you'll be getting stickers. So the next thing is I had a meeting with DigitalOcean this week to talk about getting Blitz in their marketplace. So there's having an official DigitalOcean image for Blitz apps and a Kubernetes setup for DigitalOcean. And so we have two open issues for those if anyone would like to kind of take those on. They're fairly well documented, except Kubernetes. You need to know about Kubernetes, which I don't. But so if you're interested in that, that would be awesome to help out on. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to Juan M04 in here. He's a new level 2 maintainer, and he has just been like knocking it out of the park with, he got all the translations stuff set up, because so we're now translating into German, Dutch, Japanese, Indonesian, and Spanish. And Dutch is in the lead right now. Congrats, Lori, and all the other Dutch translators. But yeah, Juan has done just a great job of that, and he's helping manage all the doc PRs. So just a big shout out to him. Thank you, Juan. All right, so Kenza is going to give us a lightning talk. She is engineering manager at Breathe Life, and she's going to be talking about how she's using Blitz on her new project. So Kenza, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, Brandon. What I'm going to be talking about isn't really related to Breathe Life. It's kind of just, a side project I've been working on. I am hoping that one day we'll be able to use Blitz at Breathe Life. I've been like slowly talking about it at every one-on-one, like trying to push people to play around with it so I can get them excited enough to want to do something with it. But we're not there yet. What I'm going to be talking about today is a project I've been working on for not too long, about a month and a half or so. And really, I've been kind of slacking on it in the past like 15, 20 days. So really, I mostly did a lot of work on it over like 10, 15 days. And now I'm just kind of cleaning things up and improving it. Essentially, well, I'll just get started. So the main problem I was having is I suck at finding gifts. When I need to find a gift for somebody, I Google things, I try to remember what they told me, but like the moment that I need that information, it doesn't pop in my head, even though I listen to people and then I remember later, oh, right, that's what they like, but never when I actually need that information. So when I'm trying to find a gift for somebody, it just drives me insane. I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm not actually going to be able to find something that I'm happy with, but I'm just going to buy it and that's it.
Kenza, do you have slides you want to share?
I don't have slides, no, but I'll share my screen when I get to the app.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so and basically, sometimes I Google, like good gifts for Mother's Day or good Valentine's Day gifts and things like that. And a lot of this stuff is just, super generic. It's like here are all the good gifts for mothers, and not all mothers like the same things, so it's just really, not very useful. So I was thinking, I talked to a few people about this and try to see if am I the only one, and the answer so far has been no. A lot of people have trouble finding gifts. Some people are fantastic at it, and they're like, oh, it's easy, and then other people are like, no, it's really, really hard. So I was thinking it would be great to build something that would help people find gifts that are personalized to the person they're trying to give a gift to. So essentially, you're answering a few questions to try and nail down what does this person like, what's their age group, what's their relationship to you, what's your budget, and then through this information, look through a database of gift ideas that would be built by people who are better at finding gift ideas than me, and essentially recommend gifts that are actually appropriate and that are relevant to the person you're trying to give a gift to. So this project, I've called it Giftly. Well, maybe just quickly on like what I'm thinking about the business model. I'm thinking about using affiliate programs. So essentially like, Amazon and eBay and like Adidas, like they all have like affiliate programs. So I'm thinking of building the library of gifts, with some of them being related to products, some not, but if I can find products, that would be great. So that's kind of the general idea. So let me walk you through a little demo. I'll share my screen. All right, so I'm gonna assume you can see my screen. So a little disclaimer, design is not my forte. I was mostly trying to get it work and get the functionality in, but I am planning on hiring a freelance designer to help me make this a lot prettier. So don't worry too much about the UI right now. It's just not quite where it needs to be. All right, so there's just a set of questions to start with. So let's say I want to give a gift to a friend. His pronoun is he. He's this age range, and I already selected some of these, but let's say he likes music and electronics, and that it's for Christmas, and $100 is my budget. So I'm gonna get a recommendation again. Like don't worry about the UI, and the recommendation will be the one that is closest to my budget. There's other ones that are available. So if you don't like this one, you could try and find other ones, and you could actually go and buy this product if it's available. And there's other small features, like I can add something to my favorites. And when I try to add something to my favorites, it'll try to get me to give me my email so that if I, change browsers or something, I don't lose my favorites. I'm not going to do that right now. So that's the consumer side, and I'd say that's the part that was pretty quick to make. There's also an admin side. So if you remember, I mentioned that I'm really bad at finding gift ideas. So that means that I can't be the one building all this out. Oops, what happened there? Well, that's great. Okay, let me try it. Hopefully. All right. So I can't be the one filling out these gift ideas, and I kind of paired up with my little sister. She's really good at this, and she's really business minded and really motivated about all this stuff. So she's gonna help me build out this database, and she's not very technical, so I can't be giving her like a DB access to build this out. So I was thinking building an admin platform would be pretty useful in this case, and really it's just a platform to start building out gift ideas. Oh, that's wonderful. The demo god is not on my side today. All right, give me a second. I just need to copy my password from somewhere. All right, I lost it. So I'm not gonna go over the admin platform, but it's essentially just like a bunch of lists and like editors and basically generator tools. So a lot of the UI and the setup with the mutations and all that was just I want to create generate my components and my tables, etc., for products, and it would just automatically generate that. And it was really, 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 really quick, which is incredible because my job right now, we're trying to build like an admin platform, and it's taking forever, because there's a lot of steps all throughout the stack. And the fact that I was able to build this out, I'd say like I spent so far maybe 20, 30 hours on the bulk of it. And I was able to get to something that is already kind of usable. My sister's working on filling up this database of product ideas and gift ideas and all of that. Yeah, I'm really impressed with Blitz, and I've been talking about it with almost every developer I talk to nowadays. Yeah, that's about it. That's what I have for today. Sorry about the demo fail.
I have a question. When you're talking about the generators, do you mean just the ones that are there already there, or have you like written your own generators to like build out the more of the pages?
I haven't built my own generators. I was thinking about doing that because the default generators don't use the UI components I usually use. So like, for example, Chakra UI and things like that. But I've mostly set up things right now with just the default generators, and then I go in and I edit what I need to edit.
Hey, Kenza, how are you like doing the actual recommendations? Are you just like running like a search on Amazon, or what are you doing?
So it's not a search on Amazon. There's a table in the database for gift ideas, and then there's another table for gift. So for products, and gift ideas can have several products related to them, or some gift ideas may not have any product yet. Like maybe we have an idea, but there's no product for it yet in your region. So I'm planning on making this kind of region focus. So like initially I'm in Canada, so I'm going to start with Canada. My sister's in France, so we're going to start with France and Canada. Like if you're in the US and you're trying to order something and it's not available because most of the affiliates are in Canada, you'll find the gift idea, but not a button to actually purchase it. Like it'll be a button to search on Google for that product near you.
I asked because you could have like a high-touch version of the service where you describe your parent or whatever, and someone could like jump in and actually make the recommendation for you manually. I
didn't think about that.
Like I would happily pay someone for like finding a good gift for and impersonal perhaps, but a good, a human curated recommendation for my dad instead of tool bags and grilling supplies, which is what everyone on the internet says I should get my dad.
Okay, I like that idea. Thanks. I'll probably use that actually. The MVP was supposed to be kind of just that, like go through a database, find the best match for the keywords that you entered and your budget and the person you're giving a gift to. Like you might not give flowers to your brother, for example, but you'll give them to your mom and you'll give them to your girlfriend, whoever. So that would be the initial idea, but later on, I think that's a good idea to have actual people involved in this. Like I said, there are a lot of people who are really good at this stuff and really good at advising you at finding gifts.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kenza. And yeah, we definitely, we have an open PR for custom templates so that you can like override the templates and make them. It's it's just stuck right now. It just needs somebody to come and give us some love and like finish it up, but I haven't been able to focus on it yet. Any other questions right now? We can take another couple more questions for Kenza now, and then we can also come back at the end too. Okay, then
so
let's go ahead.
You're using Postgres as a database?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And using DigitalOcean for Vercel? Or? Okay.
DigitalOcean, Vercel, like basically the Blitz documentation, I was able to get everything out pretty quickly, which is fantastic.
Okay, and how's your experience been with DigitalOcean? Everything smooth?
It's been good. I'm still in I think there's like a 60-day period where it's free. So I haven't gotten to the point where it would actually cost money. Maybe it'll be less good at that point in time. But so far it's been good.
Okay, good to hear.
I saw some chatter on Twitter this week about Railway has a Postgres database with built-in connection pooling that some people are using with Vercel. So I'm not sure what the pricing is, but you could check it out, railway.app. So, all right. So next up is Simon Knott. He is the level 2 maintainer at Blitz, and he's the creator of Super JSON, which is our awesome serialization library. And he's the founder of Coral, which is background processing, cron jobs, things like that. It works good with Next.js and Blitz. So he has a fun presentation for us. So take it away, Simon.
Cool. Thanks for the introduction. Right, I'm going to present about building color, short retrospective. So you may ask yourself, what's color? This is him. Color is a poorly drawn goldfish. And color came to solve all of your scaling problems you ever had or will have in the future. And to be honest, it basically is a Calendly clone. Calendly is that service that you hook up to your Google Calendar, and then you can send people a link that allows them to book a spot in your calendar without having the whole scheduling back and forth. And I wanted to have a Calendly, like I wanted to buy Calendly, but Calendly and all of the other competition, like it's marketed with a lot of competition actually, but all of them have one big problem. They only support Google Calendar, some support Outlook, some support like iCloud, but none of them support CalDAV. CalDAV, that standard, that open standard that, for example, Nextcloud implements. And I have my calendar in a Nextcloud, and I wanted to stay there. I don't want to move it to Google, but I wanted to have a scheduling solution. And that's why we built Color. Color is basically Calendly, but with CalDAV support. That's all there is to it. And to be honest, I wouldn't have built that for fun, I guess, but it was a university project at HPI. That's the university I'm studying at, like a small software institute near Berlin. So like that way is Berlin, and down here is the student dormitory where I'm streaming out of right now. And so yeah, it was a term project here, and we built it with Blitz.js. And that project will end on Sunday, but basically we're just finishing up everything at the moment. And the idea of this talk is to just talk about what we've learned along the way, and then transform that to some takeaways for the Blitz community or for the Blitz project. Because this project was interesting in a way that like who actually was we? We were a team of 5 people of widely varying skill levels. It's very cool that actually out of the team of 5 people, 4 are actually here today. So if you see in the rest of the Zoom room, I think there's Rohan and Stefan there, and Lucas is also here, which is cool. And like we were wildly different skill levels, like bloody beginners, people with some intermediate experience with React, or people like me who actually helped build Blitz and are deep down into the whole like web dev rabbit hole. And it was very interesting what we could see there, because like naturally I fell into kind of a tech lead position, and we've seen some not so great things that I could have improved if I had known how to do it. And like the idea of this talk, so the next few slides could be read as me ranting about my teammates, but they're not meant to. They're more meant as like things that could have worked better if I, as a tech lead or team lead there, would have done it better. And I think a lot of this could be interesting to Blitz. So let's just start with the first thing, how to deal with poor code quality. Because it was a very fast-moving project, and we didn't really have time to get to know the whole stack, right? So we just dived into it, and we very quickly, like, so in the beginning, we just laid out the whole project, and then we very quickly locked down the main branch and had people just contributing over pull requests and doing code reviews. And at the beginning, I had the time to review every single pull request and give feedback and like raise the quality there and just educate a bit. But this couldn't stay like the whole time. I didn't want to become a huge bottleneck there. And what we did is we then we just had a guideline of 1 review per pull request. And we just increased our quality checks steadily, like linting, formatting, testing, all that stuff. And in the end, that wasn't really enough. So when I had a look at the code base, there I found a lot of smells that I wouldn't have wanted to come into the code base. So for example, use of a lot of any types all over the place, which basically like the TypeScript any type that basically turns off the TypeScript compiler. Which bit us because we wanted to do, we just renamed the field in the database and relied on the TypeScript compiler to tell us every place where we needed to change it. And because we used any, we didn't find all of them. Or we found that people misused queries and mutations because it wasn't that easy to grasp the difference and to find out what to use in what situation. Or we found actually secrets are leaking into the front end. So some private data, in our example, it was passwords for calendars that we connect that leaked into the front end because the separation between front end and back end wasn't apparent. Wasn't obvious what was executed where. And a lot of these things could have been improved by more thorough pull request reviews, but that would have slowed us down. And in the end, like it's a project of 5 people working for like 4 months, not even full time in any means. Like I guess we all did like 5 or 6 hours a week. So doing more thorough pull request reviews would have been hard. So what we did instead is have like routine refactoring sessions. So basically let the code quality in the code base decline steadily and then like do some refactoring and pull it back up. Yeah, so that's the first thing. And the second thing that we found is that there were problems with TypeScript. So for example, because Blitz.js, like when you generate a new project, the Blitz.js, like the TypeScript strict mode isn't enabled by default. And that caused some problems. And I'm really not sure why we don't enable strict mode. Also going to come back to that later. Then we found that people brought over idioms from other languages without really adapting them to JavaScript or TypeScript. So one example, somebody that I guess wrote a lot of Java before, put everything into singleton classes. And people overused inheritance in a way that is not that, at least that common in the JavaScript community. And I found that it would have been interesting for them to have some small blog posts like JavaScript idioms for foreigners or TypeScript idioms for foreigners, like welcome to the TypeScript community. This is how we do things here. Basically something like this. That would have been, I guess, very helpful. Then big question for us was the question of UI frameworks. So in the beginning, I just decided that we use Tailwind, or like I had some very good arguments and it sounded catchy and stuff. And I pushed for Tailwind because I liked it. I use it in Quirrell, and it really fits the way I think. And then after some time, we found out that because people had little experiences really with plain CSS, using Tailwind was hard because Tailwind basically is like an abstraction over the normal CSS concepts. And people didn't want to build their own components. We are not designers in the end, and building it on our own really is not like, it's not good for users either. So we sought for like an alternative and compared a lot of the different frameworks, and there's a plethora of them out, and there's too many. And we finally settled on React Bootstrap. Not because we tried everyone and like decided that's the best one, but just because people knew Bootstrap and had like pre-existing experience. And in hindsight, I think that maybe Chakra would have been better. So Bootstrap is totally fine for us right now. But judging from the things I've heard about it, is not like the best integration with React you can get. And this is like a really important decision. Like we had to like start over, scrap our Tailwind thing and replace it with Bootstrap. And we could really have used some help, maybe from Blitz. And I think having like an opinionated guide on what to choose, how to choose, what options are there, that would have been very interesting. So for example, like a decision tree. If you're building an admin application and it's only going to be used on desktop, check out Ant Design. If you want to have something that's very custom, like build your own design system or something like this, that would have been interesting. Then another thing where we struggled is the separation between Blitz and Next and React. It wasn't apparent which parts of Blitz behavior stem from Blitz, which of them stem from Next, and which of them are really from React. And that by itself is not a problem, but at the moment where we don't have a full Stack Overflow repository of answers, knowing the source of where an error comes from is really key to effective Googling. And I think it'd be interesting to have a guide on that really gives people an insight or like a mental model of where problems come from. I think that's a hard thing to do because we basically we need to step away from a Blitz does everything magic for you. We need to give them insights into the internals of Blitz basically, but it would be interesting or helpful for effective Googling. Then another problem, Cypress coverage. So we implemented a pretty comprehensive test suite in the end of end-to-end tests, because let's be fair, most of web applications is like user interaction. There's not that much interesting data stuff going on, and we added like end-to-end tests to that. And we wanted our coverage reports to include that, because otherwise they would have been like 5%, and that sounded bad. We wanted to have 60%, and that's why we wanted to include the end-to-end tests. And the first problem is that it's kind of hard to set up. So like setting up Cypress on its own is not that easy. And I think our Cypress recipe should do that for you. Like setting up Cypress should include setting up coverage for Cypress. And the other much bigger problem was that when you generate those coverage reports, it's actually using the compiled path. So if you didn't notice, so Blitz basically works by taking, for example, your queries and your mutations and generating them or compiling them into API routes in Next.js. And what's executed then is really just a Next.js project. And when Cypress does its coverage reporting, it takes the Next.js, what's the source code for Next.js. But in our coverage test, we would have wanted the source code for Blitz.js. And what we had to do is basically transform this path, like that app underscore resolvers appointments, yada, 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 to app appointments. So remove that resolvers thing. Or pages/calendars.tsx to app/users/pages/calendars. And we actually wrote a small script that does the whole rewriting. So we take the outputs of coverage reporting, then change the JSON, the output, and then generate the actual line coverage. But that's really hacky and not something that developers should do. Like it's something that Blitz should handle for them. Gonna come back to that later as well. So after some like nitpicky things about experience with Blitz, I did some surveys. Like on Wednesday, I asked them like how was the experience been, and I asked some questions, and I'm just gonna go through them. So Philip, who is the one that's not here today, he says that he is like an advanced beginner, has 1 year of React experience, but with a small Next.js project. And he'd like to have known Prisma before, because he says that Prisma and Blitz are so tightly coupled or so intertwined, or so important together, like that he would have liked to have known more about Prisma. He says the best thing about our stack, about Blitz, is comfortable routing, the authentication things, queries, mutations. He really liked these. He disliked the weird behavior at times for like context being undefined, I suppose, with invoke or something. Or some wrong hooks being called, and it just took some time until he got it all. And the Blitz.js stack overflow is just very empty, which he would have liked to be otherwise, but yeah. He says that we should improve on some smallish bugs, but he's sure that they're already fixed in beta. Because actually, like the Blitz beta has been like a running gag in our team, because I was like, yeah, we're already in beta, or like we're in beta, but we don't say it. Like we just need to update the website and just, yeah, we're in beta, but now we're really in beta. I said that for like 2 months or something. Yeah. And he said that he would recommend Blitz for small projects, at least until Blitz rises in popularity. Then we had Rohan, who's here today. He has intermediate React experience, but no experience with Next.js, and he'd like to have known before about like the separation between front end and back end, what is actually executed where, what's like, how is a mental model of the separation there. He says that Prisma actually was surprisingly good, and there was nothing actually particularly bad, which is a good result, I think. He says we should improve on giving a better overview of the structure of Blitz projects, how are like the folder structured, and he would recommend Blitz for getting started quickly, but for bigger projects, he would prefer separation of concerns that a front end and dedicated backend gives you. Then Lucas says he's a beginning intermediate, has some JavaScript experience, but no TypeScript at all. And he really liked Prisma and said that Blitz is an interesting approach, which I don't know how to interpret, but I guess he found it very like inspiring. He says that we should improve on the separation of concerns and on separation between front end and back end. And we should do this by describing it more clearly in the docs. So basically, we could think about just plastering it all over the docs. This is in front end, this is in back end. We should just make this a lot more obvious. He says that Blitz is a cool tool, but not really a silver bullet. There are some cases where he would not use it at all. So for example, if you need a clear API, or if it's a really high stakes project where you can't allow like a new tool like Blitz, he wouldn't use it. But for personal projects, definitely recommend it. And then there's Stefan, who's also here today. Stefan has experience with plain JavaScript and Vue.js, and he would have liked to have known React and Next before, because that would really have helped him Googling stuff. I think that's again like the point I was making. Knowing what's Blitz, what's Next, what's React really helps you like making sense of it all. He also really liked Prisma, so it seems like Prisma is the real winner of this survey. And he also says that Prisma has caused the most problems. So it seems like it's two-sided sword, especially like migrations. So we started out using like the old migrations tool, and yeah, I agree that was bad. And he is still kind of upset about missing cascading deletes in Prisma. And he says we should improve in the way that we just include a lot more snippets in our documentation. He said that that is very helpful for beginning devs, especially since our Stack Overflow is so empty. Also, our folder structure isn't that easy to grasp, but he attributes that to our own lack of structure in our project. We could have done better ourselves. And he would actually recommend Blitz for smaller projects where monoliths are a good fit. Okay, so enough Blitz survey. Like, as you see, 4 people, that is like at least representative, if not more. And let's get to like the takeaways for Blitz. Just the stuff I've talked about before, just more condensed into what we should do now. So one thing is, I think we should create like a road to Blitz, a thorough learning path that you can give people to get up speed to Blitz. So on the right, you can see this road to React. You may have heard about it. There's like also a road to front end, a road to back end, a road to database administrator. And it's basically this idea of having a lot of topics that you can choose from and learn one by one. And I think that would be very, very helpful for Blitz. For example, for learning hard skills like architectural patterns for Blitz applications, knowing enough TypeScript to be dangerous, or like different slices with what's React, what's Next, what's React Query. But also soft skills stuff. So how to create good pull requests, how to like having a writing guide for developers, how to contribute to stuff, how to write well. I think that would be very helpful to just have a learning path. You can give it to people that can skim over it and then check off the things that they don't know yet. Not that they should do everything, but just like get a good introduction. Then what we should also do is work on Cypress coverage. Like maybe the Next.js fork will solve it, and if not, we should deal with it ourselves. That's really not a thing that developers should see. We should enable TypeScript strict mode by default, like the title says it. We should, and like unless there's like a technical reason that we can't do it, that does not. Okay, thank you, Brandon. Because I think like a strict mode, like not enabling it is for like brownfield projects, but when you start with a greenfield project, there's nothing keeping you from just enabling strict mode. And we should just make it more obvious where's the front end, where the front end stops and where it ends, or where the backend begins. Either by some clever API design, but I don't really see a way to make that work. It's already not that obvious with Next.js when I think about get static props, or I think get server side props. Like I can't really remember what part of it can also be called on the front end. So I think we should rather do it by excessive mentioning in the docs. Just have like you know those cookie banners. Maybe we should add some like front end back end things that you always have to click away until you know it. Because like we really don't want people leaking sensitive data into the front end. It's really not that obvious what data is sent into the front end, so we should just find some way to make it obvious. Right, conclusion. So this talk has been about the negative sides of that project, but overall it was really fun and Blitz worked well for us. I don't think we would have been able to create such a well-functioning application with any other framework in that time span. And the promise of like high efficiency and high productivity really came to fruit for us. Some of the things that I've talked about, we can just take as learnings to improve Blitz. And in the end, like, what about color? Will I use it? No. Like, Savical announced that they support CalDev, and there's no way that I'm going to maintain my own scheduling tool if I can just buy one. Sorry. Okay, thank you. So that's been my talk. I'm sure there are some questions. Just raise your voice and ask.
Cool. Thanks, Simon. I'll lead off here with some comments. So it's interesting that I feel like there's a lot of people who have been down the path of like separation of concerns, like separate front end, separate back end projects, and they've like really lived with that. They come running back to Blitz because they're like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. Like all that stuff like really isn't worth it for so many cases. And the thing with a monolith, like I want to, so one point of that is like monoliths scale traditionally much more than you might think. They kind of get a bad rap, but they still, like GitHub is running on Ruby on Rails, right? So like you can go very far with a monolith. But it also with Blitz and Next.js, you can deploy serverless, which sort of takes away the whole monolith scaling thing because your backend can be serverless functions. And so then you're not dealing with the multiple servers load balanced and so forth. So that's interesting. And yeah, the fork will definitely fix a bunch of kind of weird stuff, like those path rewrites for coverage and things. So that I'm really looking forward to getting that going. The issue with code running on server client was the secrets. Was it like stuff in the database that you were querying, where like if you Prisma is talking about a feature where you can mark a field as private so that it's not so that you have to explicitly request to get that field, otherwise it's hidden by default. Would that have solved your particular problem? You're muted.
That would have solved it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's a very a good one. And then also had the idea that we could set it up so that if you have a file that's something .server.js or .ts, so if it's .server in there, then we would automatically exclude that from the client bundle. And so it would be a way to say like, hey, this is like, I only want this thing to run on the server, no matter where I import it. And that would be a way to enforce that.
That's a very good idea, I think. Yeah.
And I think that would match with the like the React Server components. It's like the same convention. And so I think that should mesh together. I think that's all the main things I had. The ideas on docs were really good. Yeah. Okay, anyone have questions?
Yeah. I have a comment more. Just getting back to the scaling issue, because like with my background, I've done work like at scale, like pretty freaking large scale. I think when you look at Blitz, because it's just one of those like mental exercises you think through. Because like I'm like, okay, well, what if I strike strike oil or gold, whatever, and the thing starts taking off. How do you scale past it? I think the thing that would probably look at it, you're talking about monoliths, probably what any logical person would do at some point is just start to pull out the API. So like, the whole application wouldn't blow up at once. Specific endpoints are going to be what kind of get hot. And what you would do is you just basically pull up, create a backend, create a microservice for that specific API, and then crush and, get rid of the Blitz integration for a specific endpoint and just make a traditional API call. And at that point, you'll have your backend scaling, which is pretty much where you're going to run hot anyway, right? Because you'll be pulling off your CPU load. So I think even if we just did a quick little doc of like, hey, look, by the time you hit the point where that runs out and you really need to go out to microservices, you're going to be a big slow org anyway, right? And you're like 7-figure budget per month for just stupid shit. So my point there is I think Blitz, for anybody that's seen these things scale, Blitz will take you so far that by the time you have the problem, you have all sorts of other problems like hiring and all this other stuff that's going on. So I think it's, as long as we show people a path, I think maybe that would alleviate some of the concerns.
Right. And I think part of it too is just like the dogma about separation of concerns, and like we have the same thing with like CSS and JS, right? Like it's not separation of concerns, and where it's like kind of these idioms and things are thrown around that like, if you haven't had experience with it, it's easy to be like, that's very important, when actually it's not that much. And people overestimate how much you're going to be slowed down by having things separated.
Yeah, that's right. But one like positive point of splitting it into two projects is that you start to consciously think about what logic you want to be where. What logic should be on the client, what logic should be on the server. And I find that to be actually like, that's the main valid point that I'm like seeing, especially for newcomers. You would want to stop, pause, and ponder about the question where you want the logic to be.
Yeah, I think one really good point, Simon, that you brought up, and Brandon, to maybe add to it, because I ran into the same thing that he brought up with some of his students, which is like, for example, your mutations, right, are server side only. I almost wonder if even just like a nice little comment banner at the top of a few files saying like, this is server side only code, this never makes it to the client, that that may help. It's not going to solve everything, but it may help a little bit.
Yeah, that's like pretty similar to some of the mutations, which pull every single record, and then you have a comment that says if you have a multi-tenant app, make sure you're giving this to the right tenant. So something like that, I would think. And I think it also is like preface with to do or something. You probably don't need the to do in those, but like a note, something like that. Yeah.
Also, just FYI, MrGamble.com is running on Blitz, and it's very high traffic site compared to most apps. So they migrated to Blitz from Next.js, and one of the CMS headless CMS companies, and so they were having performance issues, and they migrated to Blitz because they were having performance issues with Next.js and a separate API for the content.
Right. So any other questions?
I was kind of surprised about the struggles with Tailwind, because most of the time I hear the opposite, that people who are not good with CSS like Tailwind. So, yeah.
Well, I was also surprised, but I expect like that. So like the main thing really was that people didn't want to build their own components, and that is totally reasonable for this project. But then on the other hand, like it takes some time to get up speed with how the Tailwind classes work, and they're really intuitive, but you need to get used to them. And if it's a project where you don't work that long on, that you don't get used to it, I think that's a bummer with Tailwind. And I was that much more comfortable with it because I built some other projects with Tailwind at the same time, and I had more exposure to it. Yeah.
I think we should definitely add a page to our docs on styling, and we can say we recommend either Tailwind or Chakra, and we can list out like, if you just want something just quick and dirty, you don't want to build out your components or whatever, just use Chakra. If you want to be able to customize it more in the future, maybe like longer term, more maintainable, use Tailwind. It kind of like tease out those differences and when you might want to choose that. And then of course, like you can choose anything else, but like these are the two kind of recommended paths. So if anyone listening wants to write that page, please do so.
Whoever writes that's going to get flamed pretty hard, right? Because there's always stuff.
I'll run cover for them.
Want to do it.
No, I'll run cover.
Cool. Yeah, on the road to Blitz thing, I think it would be very helpful if we just collect a lot of links and a lot of good content on this and try to put it into like a learning path. And this could really be like an evolving thing. Yeah. It just does not have to include only Next.js or only Blitz.js things. Just like path to get up speed with Blitz.js projects.
Yeah, enabling strict mode by default for TypeScript is probably a good idea. I didn't originally add it just because for newcomers to TypeScript, it makes it a little bit more challenging for them.
Yeah.
But
can I add something about that? So it's, if you come from, so I use Next.js all the time on several side projects and my daily driver as well, which is an API backed separate Next.js application. And I've been kind of doing a little bit of stack tourism in the last couple of weeks. And I started with plain Next.js and I went over to, and I tried a Supabase backed thing. Supabase is just a Firebase clone that uses Postgres. And I settled on Blitz.js, next to experiment. And there was already a lot of stuff in there that I had never, ever dealt with. So I've spent something like 2 weeks learning TypeScript, learning Prisma from scratch, learning, React Query, which I don't use because I use SWR on the Vercel side. So there were already a billion different things that I had to figure out in addition to just Blitz.js itself. So if you add one more hurdle for me in terms of TypeScript, and I understand any is a crutch, but it's a crutch that's helping me actually stick with the project.
Yeah.
I probably will enable strict mode this week because I've gotten past all of the other hurdles that were ahead of me. Just point of feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So
The
probably
thing with
we should
strict
add a
mode is-
prompt.
Mhm,
When
maybe.
you create a new app, say, hey, do you want TypeScript strict or not? We can say recommended for experience with TypeScript. If you're new to TypeScript, probably not.
That's right, but on the other hand, strict mode doesn't add that much additional stuff. We already have strict null checks on, I think, and the things that's like full strict mode adds on top of it. These are like really the nitty-gritty details that you don't
No
really.
implicit any is kind of annoying if you're not.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like, at least in my experience, that's kind of the main one. It's like, yeah, I don't have stricter enabled, and I see kind of no implicit any warnings, but
Okay.
it still works.
Okay.
Thanks for those
Then
comments,
we should
Vic.
prompt it. Okay.
Yeah, Jeremy said he agrees with my comment on that no implicit any. Any other questions or comments? Can be just Blitz general too, if it's not as specific about the talks. We got just a couple more minutes here.
Let's see. I think we had two similar generator related pulls or like issues. One of them I think I opened for like the multiple components like select and checkbox, and the other was actually about generating a full form based on, I guess, Prisma schemas with like comments and such. And I think those would be pretty cool to have. I guess, do you know if like there's many people interested in that? Because I could work on the final form version of one of those, but it might take me a while to like learn the other two libraries to like make sure I'm getting those components right. So yeah.
So that and that you're specifically talking about like in new apps, right now we have labeled text field, by adding like labeled select field, labeled checkbox, labeled radio input, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you all think? I think it's a great idea to put those in. Anybody have thoughts? Yes, no, don't care. What?
I was saying, I think it's generally a good idea. I mean, it wouldn't affect me personally, but I think from a project perspective, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious if there are circumstances where somebody creates a Blitz and the first thing they do is delete those components because they have something else they prefer. You don't want part of the ritual of starting a new Blitz app to be a bunch of stuff that you're just going to delete.
Right. And this could be, so what we could do is we already prompt for a form library, and we could add an option for no form. And so it wouldn't have those files.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Okay, one more question or comment? Okay, well, thank you very much, Kinza and Simon. Round of applause for everyone. Thank you so much. This will be up on YouTube probably later today. And yeah, thanks everyone. The next meetup will be in 2 weeks from now. If you're interested in giving a presentation, please talk to me because I need people to present at the next meetup. So thank you very much. Have a good rest of your Friday.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.